Okay, you guys, this story is actually insane. Because imagine this for a second. You've been watching a homeless family on the internet for almost a year. They are living in one cramped motel room with 5 kids. They are constantly telling you that this is all temporary, that they're just here to build their credit, that the dream house is right there if they can just get one course signer. And then suddenly the long awaited update drops. Not from the mom who's always ranting, not from the one who swears she's making more money than most people with a 9-5, not from the self proclaimed social media breadwinner, but from the tired, defeated dad cleaning a tiny motel room with a voiceover. And instead of "we did it, we got the house," he basically says, "We failed. We did not get a co-signer. We may be stuck in this motel not just for the rest of this year, but halfway through next year too." So now we're talking about not 1 year of being homeless with 5 kids, but possibly 2. Meanwhile, the mom, she's not crying, she's not crumbling, she's not scrambling, she's not rushing to figure things out. She's posting old pictures of herself, talking about how attractive she used to be and how she can get that body back. No, because what? And the more you listen to Drew's explanation, the more you realize that nothing they're saying adds up. Not the money, not the credit, not the core sign or such, not the "we have enough" narrative, not the "we're trying so hard" storyline. Every sentence creates a new contradiction. So today, we're going to sit down, take this apart piece by piece, and really ask, what have the Jenkins actually been doing for the past 9 months? And why does it sound like they're planning another 8 months of homelessness on purpose? Let's rewind a little. The Jenkins have been very openly in need of a co-signer to finally get themselves a house. That's been their long big plot point. "We just need one person, one signature, and we're out of this motel." They made it sound like the house was waiting, the application was ready, the only missing puzzle piece was some generous soul to sacrifice their credit on their behalf. Except they unfortunately failed to get this co-signer. Sugar. So Drew comes out first to give an update, sounding disappointed, exhausted, and honestly just worn down by the whole process. Meanwhile, Stephanie doesn't seem to care. There is no urgency, no panic, no "we need to fix this immediately," just vibes and Facebook posts. Drew posts a video where he's cleaning up the motel. You can literally see him trying to make this cramped, chaotic room look like a livable space. And he adds a voiceover to finally talk about the co-signing situation, because people have been asking. None of them had come back to give a proper update before this, other than Stephanie's random rant. And that rant, it wasn't a calm explanation. She went after the people reviewing the housing applications, basically throwing shade at them for their work ethic. She accused them of dragging their feet on her application, acting like they were intentionally delaying her. And she framed it as if she was the only applicant in the whole world, like the universe had decided to only test her patience and no one else's. The entitlement is loud. Unlike the arrogant and entitled approach that Stephanie had, always talking down, always blaming, always pointing fingers, Drew decided at least to try to give a clearer update on the situation and the place they were trying to get into. He starts off by telling us that he and Stephanie make enough money to financially cover the place. He doubles down on that. He reinforces Stephanie's previous claim that they made more money than most of us, that money isn't really the issue, that it's not about income. So according to them, they make enough money. They could cover the rent. Financially, they're fine. If money isn't the issue, then what is the issue? Why didn't they get the house?
Hey guys, so this is Saturday morning. I decided to get up and go to the grocery store, get a couple things, clean up the house right as everybody got up, and made some breakfast. I didn't record the breakfast because it was the same old usual breakfast sandwiches and hash browns. I did want to tell you guys that we got an update on the place that we're trying to get into. We do make enough money to financially cover the place. Our only setback is our credit and the ability to find a co-signer or not. Right now, we're not sure if we're able to get the place or not, so it looks like we may be stuck here for the rest of the year and possibly at least halfway through the next year. I'm not sure. I just know if we aren't able to get a co-signer or additional bigger deposit or something like that, that we're going to be stuck in the motel for a little while longer while we do, I guess, credit building. I'm not really sure. All I know is I'm tired. I thought this was going to work. All I'm gonna say is I'm just gonna keep going the best I can and just try to keep the money that I'm making as stable as possible, and if not, find a way to increase what I'm bringing in. For everything else, it's pretty much the same. I hope everybody has a good day, and let me know in the comments if you guys have any ideas for us, because again, we got that letter. It's okay news. It's conditionally approved, whatever. People have their takes on it. I hope to hear from everybody. Have a good day.
This is where everything starts to unravel. Drew explains that their only setback, according to him, is their credit and their ability to find a co-signer. That is what he points out as their big bombing obstacle. He even adds that because of this, they might not be able to get the house and that they may be stuck in the motel for the rest of the year and possibly at least halfway through the next year. Halfway through next year. He is basically saying we might be here until at least June. So let us do the math. That means they are currently planning to be homeless for another 8 months on top of the 9 months they've already spent there. That's pushing them from 1 year of homelessness toward 2. 2 years of sleeping in one motel room with 5 kids, of breathing in cooking fumes and dust, of kids coughing in a space their mother claims she loves because she can hear the coughing. And the entire reason they told us they were in the motel in the first place, to build their credit so they could eventually get out. But according to what Drew is saying now, they did not really build any credit over the past months, and they need to start now. For the next 8 months, as if the past 9 months were just warming up. Were just a warm-up. It's insane. He goes on to say that if they were not able to get a co-signer or an additional bigger deposit, then they're going to be stuck in the motel a little while longer, doing credit building, and this is where absolutely nothing makes sense. Because remember what he said at the beginning of the video? We make enough money to cover the place. But in the same breath, he's talking about needing either a co-signer or an additional bigger deposit. If you truly make enough money to cover the place, why is the bigger deposit the issue? Why isn't the money already being put aside? Why is that not part of the plan?
It looks like we may be stuck here for the rest of the year and possibly at least halfway through the next year.
As you heard from the clip, they were denied for the home because they either needed a co-signer or a higher deposit. Because they make enough money for the rental, they just don't have the credit. They've been in this motel room with their kids for the last 8 months and they haven't been working on their credit. Wasn't that the whole point of being in the motel room? Not only that, Stephanie claims she makes all this money being a content creator with hundreds of thousands of followers. Just proves they haven't been doing what they need to do with their time or their money to get out of the motel. It irks me that she thinks no one else has ever been in her shoes. Working in real estate in the past, I know hundreds of people that have been in her shoes, that have turned their lives around in 6 months and actually bought a house. And while Drew is crashing out about not being approved for the rental, Stephanie is posting this. Her kids are living in a motel and she's worried about the way she looks. This woman is jobless, homeless, still married to a man who's currently in prison. She says she doesn't have enough time to get a divorce from. Now, Drew asked for advice in that video, so I'm going to give him some advice. Number 1, get a credit specialist and start rebuilding your credit today. Number 2, it's time to start doing more than the bare minimum. Having a job and feeding your children is the bare minimum. Drew, it's time for you to get a second job, and Stephanie, it's time for her to get a real job. From your second job and Stephanie's W-2 income is being saved, use that as an additional deposit versus needing the credit or a cosign.
Now, let's be honest, the cosigner option was never going to work. No person in their right mind with functioning self-preservation is going to risk their credit to co-sign for a family that has 1, a bad payment record, 2, multiple evictions for not paying rent, 3, a very public history of financial irresponsibility, an attitude toward work that screams bare minimum, and a literal rag problem. If you've been following their journey and their content, you know their track record, you know the chaos, you know how they treat obligations. So of course, people are not lining up to put their own credit at the chopping block for those two. So let's also cross that option off. That leaves them with one thing, the option of paying an additional bigger deposit to secure the house once and for all. And here's a key point. In this situation, even the bad credit wouldn't have been as big of an issue as if they actually had the money they claim to have. If they genuinely had enough money, they could have said, look, our credit is bad, but here are several months up front. Here's a bigger deposit. Here is proof we're serious. But instead, what we see is they can't pay more for a few extra months. They can't cover a bigger deposit. They keep saying money isn't the issue while proving that money is indeed the issue. Drew can't claim they have enough money and in the same breath fail to get the house because they don't have enough money to meet the requirements. So now we have to ask, where did all the money go? Where did the money that Stephanie bragged about, the social media income that was supposedly more than what most people make, actually go? Where did the money they've supposedly been putting aside for the house disappear to? We remember Stephanie once mentioning that they did not take the kids to urban air because Drew decided they saved the money instead for housing. That was a justification. The kids lost a trip, so the housing fund could grow. Well, where is that money now? At this point, that is the money they should be pulling out to pay for months ahead for this house, instead of begging strangers to co-sign. Instead, they're showing us that they don't have this money, while still insisting that the money isn't the issue. If money wasn't the issue, why don't they have this house already? Why are they still stuck in the same motel room with the same excuses, sliding the timeline forward like it's nothing? It just doesn't make sense. Drew then adds that he's just tired. He really thought this was finally going to work out and that they were going to get the house. Now, according to him, they're going to be in the motel a little longer while they keep credit building. He says he's going to try and keep the money he's making as stable as possible and find ways of increasing the income he's bringing in. He even asks people in the comments for advice or ideas for their situation. But here's what makes all this crazy. The credit building he's talking about, it hasn't even really started. This is the part where things go from confusing to downright embarrassing. For the whole year that they've had, the year they were allegedly going to use to save up and fix that situation, they did not prioritize housing. They did not move like people desperate to get out of homelessness. Instead, they started spending on things that were completely irrelevant to their situation. They bragged about getting new car tires, getting Drew a new PS5 game, getting Drew a new Apple Watch, Stephanie buying a big griddle, Stephanie recently buying a Ninja air fryer. None of these things are essentials in the context of trying to get out of a motel with 5 kids. These are comfort purchases, luxury packages, will be fine purchases, and they were not cheap. Then on top of that, they've all bragged about gardening constantly, talking about how they spend at least $8 every single day on gardening. So let's add it up mentally. Daily gardening, gaming, tech toys, and appliances. See, this is how they've been splashing their money around instead of thinking about the very real need for a home. Instead of remembering that they are homeless and that they should probably be sacrificing non-essentials for the sake of long-term stability, they've been living like everything is fine. And here's the part that stings even more. If at least they had been using that money on their kids, like getting them clothes, buying them memorable trips, creating core childhood memories, then the conversation would still be complicated, but at least somewhat understandable. But they did not. They spent it all on personal satisfaction and aesthetic comforts, while their kids are still in one motel room. Even when it comes to work, Stephanie refused to get an actual job that could increase their income and improve their credit. She made it very clear her social media made her more money than most people working a 9-to-5.
You guys still do not see my social media thing as a job when I probably make more than most of you. I could give a frick.
We learned a whole lot about the resilient Jenkins financial situation this week. And while I think most people suspected that Stephanie and Drew were making a decent income off of social media, people have long been questioning, where is all of the money going? And why are you still homeless living in a motel? Well, Drew was able to clear up some of those questions on his live stream prior to Stephanie's, where he mentioned
We overqualify today. Overqualify for income-based, I guess you could say.
They overqualify for housing assistance, so they make too much money. She also posted an update video about their GoFundMe that was initially created to help raise legal funds to help in Drew's custody battle. But in this video, Stephanie talks about how she lost access to that GoFundMe and that she's struggling to get back into the account, and that she wanted to ask everybody if it was okay if she used that money towards the kids' Christmas this year, or even on an urban air trip. If you make more money than everybody else, Plus, why do you need the GoFundMe money for the kids' Christmas? And a few days prior to both of their live streams, Stephanie posted a video where she bought a brand new over $200 Ninja appliance. But for some reason, she still can't understand why she has so many critics and haters. Let's not forget that they have also previously stated that they have a budget for. Stephanie also just posted this over on FB stating that she's beyond grateful for their EBT this month. So they're also getting food stamps. Now, somebody did mention in the comments that the income guidelines for Oregon to get food stamps for a family of 7 is $8,000. So it is possible that they are under that limit, but if they are, and they are genuinely qualifying for EBT, and as Stephanie states, is making more money than anybody else, why are you still in a motel? Why are you buying brand new appliances that are not a need, but a luxury? This is why you have critics and haters, Stephanie. It's honestly baffling as to why you don't understand that. People want to see you and Drew doing everything within your physical being to get you and your children out of that motel. You're constantly saying in your content that you want to be authentic and genuine. You got the platform that you did because of your living situation. And people want to see you and Drew making moves and doing better to get out of that situation. But instead, your content is anything but that.
She used that as a point of pride. But that raises one question. If this social media money is so good, why can't she even pay an additional payment to secure a house for her kids? Why is there a GoFundMe set up for people to help fund urban air and make a better festive celebration for her kids when she's bragging about giving her kids a better Christmas holiday than anyone? You're bragging about giving them the best Christmas while asking strangers to help fund the fun, all while not having money to get them out of a motel? And on top of everything, instead of looking for solutions to leave the motel immediately, they're now planning to stay there for another 8 months. And they're really serious. Are they really serious right now? What makes this whole situation even more infuriating is the difference in how Drew and Stephanie are handling. Is Drew perfect? No, not at all. He has his own issues and has been called deadbeat more than once, and not for no reason. But in this particular situation, he's at least acting like someone who understands they cannot stay in a motel with 5 kids forever. Stephanie, on the other hand, is in her unbothered era. While Drew is out here tired, defeated, cleaning the motel, giving long explanations, begging for advice, and literally going live asking for a co-signer, Stephanie is posting on Facebook about her body and how attractive she was in the past. She recently shared old pictures of herself and captioned them, "Everyone is always mentioning how unattractive they think I am. I might have lost my spark, but I know I am beautiful. I've had the body before. I can get her back." You can see what her main focus is right now. She's more into her own bubble, her own validation loop, her own perception of beauty, when she should be more worried about getting her kids out of this dumpster motel before the festive season. It's becoming more and more obvious how comfortable Stephanie is in this motel. There is a sense of urgency from her. There is no sense of urgency from her. None. Even when Drew was on live begging for a co-signer so they could finally get out of the motel, Stephanie was busy posting about the things she likes about living there. She literally talked about how she liked that she could easily hear her kids coughing. I'm sorry, but that may be one of the most insane reasons anyone has ever given for why they're okay with their kids living in one cramped, unhealthy motel room. On top of that, she's purchasing things like the Ninja air fryer specifically because it has an oven, making it clear that she's nesting in this motel. Every purchase is another step toward making this temporary situation feel permanent and comfortable. Every action from Stephanie proves how deeply she still wants to live in that motel. She keeps setting the family back. Even when Drew was given advice on better housing options, Stephanie would jump in with negative reviews, excuses, and complaints, anything to dismiss the options and remain exactly where they are. At this point, there's a very visible gap between Drew and Stephanie when it comes to understanding what each of them wants for the family. And as much as Drew has failed them in many ways, right now, in this specific situation, he at least means to be trying to do something different. Stephanie, on the other hand, looks like she enjoys the struggle as long as it feeds her content. Her attitude about this whole situation is screaming, "I don't care." And that is dangerous for the kids who deserve a stable home to live in, not in a motel room used as a backdrop for Facebook posts and social media storyline. Let me know your thoughts in the comments because I'm still processing this and I genuinely want to hear what you think. And if you want to stay updated on how this whole situation plays out, whether they really stay in that motel for another 8 months, whether they keep using this as a storyline, whether the court case changes anything, make sure you like, subscribe, and stick around. because something tells me this is not the end of the Jenkins housing saga.